Welcome to Real Talks with Pinks. Thank you for the love we've been receiving on the show. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Today we have a special guest. I'm going to ask her to introduce herself and then we will introduce the topic of the day.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Nonnie da Silva Manyokole. I wear many hats. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a lawyer, I'm a corporate lawyer, so I do a lot. I'm a businesswoman. I run my own law firm. And I'm soon to open an NGO where I deal with children and their development and, all of that. But it's a topic for another day.
Oh, wow. I like that. It's 2021. We are busy. We are booked. We are women. So today, Melanie, as a lawyer, we're going to talk about custody issues. I want her to get straight into the show because I have a lot to delve into in such a short space. Please explain, what are the types of marriages that we have in Lesotho?
Thank you. It's quite interesting that normally in Lesotho, when you get married through a white wedding, we always feel like a customary marriage is not good enough. But in Lesotho, we have two types of system, the customary law and the civil law. And they are equal.
Oh, really?
They have equal rights. So if you decide to go into the customary law marriage, it's still perfect. If you decide to go to the civil marriage, it's also fine. But you have to be aware of the implications of both marriages. Because the civil marriage is totally monogamous. You cannot have a second wife, but a customary marriage, you can have a second wife and you are governed by a different system.
Let's explain it before you pass. Customary marriage is where both families meet, and then do.
Yes.
Civil, that's where I go and sign at Home Affairs or I go to church.
Exactly.
Okay.
So in the Sesotho, there are a lot of rituals that go on. You have to go and ask for the girl's hand in marriage. The parents have to consent. And also there has to be a payment of the bride price or a promise thereof.
A promise?
So there's a saying that munyala kapedu munyala wa hai.
Yes.
Sometimes the cows never come. But it has to be written down. There has to be a letter that shows that indeed there has been a marriage that was concluded and it's a customary marriage. And there has to be witnesses. So also, Chair, I'm sure that everybody knows about the civil marriage. You go there, you go to church, you sign, and it's all about it. But those marriages are both contracts. And I think normally we are not aware of their implications. I think we have not also talked about the antenuptial contract, which is another type of civil marriage whereby you enter into that contract and it basically protects the property of the wife and the husband against the community of property. So when you get divorced, we don't share the property. If you have your own house, you have your own car, it remains yours. But I normally feel like it is such a difficult topic of entering into an ANC, because when you are getting married and somebody introduces that, it becomes a heated argument. It's as if you think you're a millionaire and now you want to deprive me of your money. But we'll go deep into it at a later stage because it can take the whole day.
Yes, I think I'll call you again to talk about antenuptials, community of property, what that means. But for now, I want to talk about protecting our children. Yes. So let's get into what is the will and why it's important to have a will. And tell us, if you are single and you have a kid with someone, if you are married, what happens? What is a will? Let's talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A will is basically your wish on how your property will be distributed when you are no more. So I have just discovered through my long service in the legal practice that not many people have a will.
I don't have it.
And it's like when you have a will, you think you're going to die tomorrow. That is not the case. Basically, we don't know when we are going to die. And what I realize is that even the law that is going to apply upon our death is dependent on an interpretation of the court. And at the time, it might not be the correct interpretation. Because, for instance, mappings, if you live in a certain way, you are like you are wearing a beautiful cultural dress, you want to live according to Lesotho culture, and you really are proud of your culture. If you don't have a will, somebody might come and say, no, but Pinks used to embrace culture. We cannot apply a civil law upon her estate. And that may at some times not be the case. But if you have a will, there is a clause there that says, I am abandoning the Sesotho mode of life and I am adopting a civil way of life, whereas my property will be administered in terms of the civil law. So what is interesting about a will, to me, of which I think everybody should have a will, whether you are single, you need to have a will. Whether you are married, you have to have a will. And a will is a living document. You can amend it as many times as you want. You can disinherit as many people as you want in the will, because today I might want to give my firstborn my property. Tomorrow he's graduated, he's a neurosurgeon, he really doesn't need my house, and then I can give it to my lastborn or somebody who I find is more deserving of my property. So a will to me is something that we all have to have, because it clearly spells out what will happen in your death. So the problem with not having one is that we'll have to go to court. And sometimes it's quite disheartening, because the Lesotho, in Lesotho, we are more prone to apply the customary way of life or customary law. So when you have a daughter, children, and you die without a will, we'll have to find a Monjalefa in the family. And that Monjalefa might be an uncle somewhere who is going to take care of these children. And he might squander the property. And if you had a will, you would clearly have spelled out that my children will be my daughters will inherit the property. If they are minor children, we will appoint a guardian of your choice. It could be your friend, it could be somebody you know has the best interest of my children at heart. And you can literally to a T spell out everything you want for these children beyond the grave. So it's quite important to register a will. Yes.
I want you to say more on girl children. My sister has 3 girls. So I need her to understand what the law says about girl children.
Yes.
Why can't they inherit? What does the law say?
Thank you. I think we know the notorious case of the chieftainess who was unable to inherit or to become the heir to her father's throne just because she was a girl. That is because the Chieftain Act of Lesotho is a male. It was in the olden days. The male child is the one who is regarded as the head of the family. He's regarded as the responsible one. He's regarded as all these things. And unfortunately, the civil law, everybody is equal. So according to the civil law, there is no boy child, there's no girl child. It's all children. You can even disinherit your children. You can give your property to a next door neighbor. So I think it's quite important that we, as Basotho, we understand the law even before we have problems. I always say, if you know a lawyer, make that lawyer your friend. We come across a lot of legal issues. Even when you go to the bank, you are asked to sign a surety. You don't know what that means. Go to a lawyer. You consult. It's not a fortune to consult. You just sit there, they demystify the whole legal thing, and then at least you'll make an informed decision.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You are now my lawyer friend.
Definitely, every day.
Let's continue talking about protecting kids. Can you say more about, I want people to understand the issue of what do I want to say? This will issue. I want someone to say, I'm going to write a will, especially speak to single parents. Speak to single parents. I think. Yes.
Single parents normally feel like kiheso. Sometimes we always feel like you are the property of your parents. You cannot stand on your own as the child's mother. I can make my own decisions. I can run my own life. And if you are not verbal about your intentions, it's unfortunate that we have a culture that we always say, that girl is not married, so she belongs to this family. Even the property, the cars must be packed here. And that child will be part of the furniture. So if she doesn't have a will, that clearly spells out her intentions about her property. Always there is some uncle somewhere who will be now dragging this child through heartache, and that child needs some sort of a protection. And I'm also going to talk about the Children's Protection and Welfare Act. I think all Basotho, we need to know about it, because that is one law that was a very welcome development in Lesotho, because there was a way in which we classified kids. If a child is born out of wedlock, they seemed not to have certain rights. And now this Children Protection Act, fortunately, it provides all the rights for maintenance to a child, irrespective of whether this child is from a marriage or not. So right now, if you have a child, you are not married to the father, you go to court and you get a maintenance order.
Okay.
Even if that father is married somewhere, that child is entitled to be married. If that father somewhere has an estate, that child is entitled to that estate. So right now, children are indeed protected under the law, and it's upon us as Basotho to go and find those instruments, which I think a lawyer will assist you, or you can even Google it, and then you'll find the law that is applicable to your situation. And also custody of children, and that very act, there's an interesting provision there whereby a person can apply to be a guardian of a child.
Okay.
If that person identifies that those children are not safe under the guardianship of their parents.
Wow.
So
this is new.
if those parents are not giving the child the education or even the welfare they deserve, you can come as their grandmother, as someone who really, really will provide the best care, and apply to court for that, because the court is always decides in the best interest of the child. So I think that we have the instruments, we have the court, we have a children's court in the magistrate court that deals with these issues.
Wow, it's the first time I'm hearing this ones. And lastly, I see people argue so much about custody, especially in instances where people were married. Who's more entitled, or what does the law say?
Okay, thank you. The law is really not too specific on who is entitled to the children, but there are certain factors that they take into consideration. For instance, if the children are of a fragile age, they are under a certain age, they're still, for instance, one is breastfeeding, is a toddler, is a girl child, the court is more prone to award custody to the mother.
Okay.
But they will judge upon the facts provided, because sometimes this father is actually the perfect parent to be awarded custody. So basically the court will just look at the facts and try to weigh where can the interest of this child be more satisfied.
Okay.
Yes.
Best interest of the child.
Best interest of the child. I think also I can also add, in divorce cases, what I realized of recent was that normally when we are in a divorce case, it becomes really ugly, whereby the two spouses are fighting with the children.
Ish.
So I appeal to Basotho that if the love relationship is no more, the fact that you are the parents still remains.
Yes.
And the interest is of these children. You must at all costs, forget about whatever hurt that you have. Make sure that you have a relationship that will ensure that the growth of these children is not impacted by the divorce. What normally I come across is a mother who is so aggrieved that she will even say, I don't want any maintenance from this man. And unfortunately for me, I always say, no, but this man or this woman, because I have to be gender sensitive, the children are entitled to be maintained and they have a legal right. So if the law is providing that he must maintain them, pay their school fees, because it won't be easy for her just to take care of the child with her salary.
True.
So I always feel like every single decision while you enter into a marriage or you leave the marriage, the interest should definitely be for the children.
Nonnie, you've said a mouthful. We've learned so much, and I'm going to bring you for part 2. We need to understand more. Oh, I'm so happy you came. Thank you for coming to the show.
A pleasure.
Viewers, get that wheel. Put your feelings aside. Put the best interest of the child. Thank you for joining us. We will definitely do a part 2. See you in the next episode. I'm too excited.
Bye.